Somewhere in the vast gray ocean, far beyond the last visible coastline, a tower of stone rises from the water, alone, immovable, eternal, and somewhere inside that tower, a man has chosen to live for an entire year, completely alone. Getting there is the first test. A small boat, churning gray water, waves crashing over the rocks at the base of the tower, a rope ladder, and a single man climbing toward a life unlike anything most human beings will ever know. And then the boat leaves, turns, it shrinks, it becomes a shape, then a dot, then nothing, and in that moment of disappearance, the world as he knew it disappears with it. No telephone, no neighbors, no family, no friends, just the ocean, the rock, the tower, and the light he must keep burning, no matter what. He pushes open the heavy wooden door and steps inside for the first time. Stone walls, curved ceilings, the smell of oil and salt and old wood, a spiral staircase disappearing upward into the darkness. This is his home now. For 365 days. The stairs. He will climb them 1,000 times before the year is done. Up to check the light, up to record the weather, up to watch the horizon, up to tend the lens, up and up and up. The heartbeat of the lighthouse keeper's life, measured in footsteps on stone. And at the top, the lantern room, the Fresnel lens, a masterpiece of 19th century engineering, fills the circular space with its 1,000 prisms of glass. And beyond the glass, in every direction, as far as the eye can see in a perfect 360 degrees, ocean. Nothing but ocean. He unpacks his supplies, enough food for a year, enough oil for a year, enough books to fill a year of evenings. He arranges everything with methodical care, because out here, where there are no shops and no deliveries and no second chances, everything must last. He sits at the desk, opens the logbook, writes the date, January the 1st, then pauses for a long moment before writing the first words of what will become 365 pages of solitary witness. He has begun. There is no going back. He stands at the gallery railing at the top of the tower and turns slowly in a full circle. North, east, south, west, ocean, 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 ocean. No land, no ships, no smoke, no people. The most alone a human being can be, while still standing on the surface of the earth. And then night falls, and the beam begins to turn, and somewhere in the darkness beyond the glass, ships sail safely past. Because he is here, because the light never goes out. This is why he came. Every morning before sunrise he climbs the stairs to extinguish the beam. He has learned to read the precise moment when daylight makes the light redundant. Not a minute early, not a minute late. The discipline of the lighthouse keeper is absolute. Then the lens must be cleaned. Every prism, every surface, polished until it throws rainbows across the curved walls of the lantern room. The lens is his most important instrument, his most valuable companion. He treats it with the reverence it deserves. He records the weather 3 times a day, every day, wind speed, barometric pressure, cloud formation, visibility, sea state. His logbook will become a scientific record of this remote ocean corner that meteorologists on the mainland will study for years. He cooks. He eats. Alone. 1 plate. 1 cup. 1 chair at the table. The simple domestic rituals that most people perform surrounded by family or the noise of the world, performed here in a silence broken only by the sound of waves and the creak of stone. The clockwork mechanism that rotates the lens requires constant attention. Springs, gears, oil fittings. He is mechanic, engineer, and technician all at once. There is no one to call for help. There is no backup. If it breaks, he fixes it. Full stop. Every day he carries oil. Heavy cans up the winding stairs. The light must be fed as surely as he must be fed. The glamour of the lighthouse keeper's life, if there was ever any, begins and ends in the oil room. He hangs on a rope on the outside of the tower to repaint its distinctive bands. The ocean crashes on the rocks far below. The wind tries to tear him from the wall. He paints, methodically, carefully, because the tower must be seen from miles away, and he is the only one who can maintain it. When fog comes, and in this place it comes often, the foghorn speaks for him. Deep, powerful, regular. A voice reaching out through the white blindness to warn ships of the rocks hidden beneath. In fog he cannot see more than 10 feet, but the horn can speak for miles. Every hour through the night he checks the light, climbs the stairs, confirms the rotation, records the time, climbs back down, sets his alarm, sleeps, wakes, climbs again. He sleeps in fragments. The light never rests, and neither does he. Once a day at a set time the radio crackles to life and a human voice fills the room. The mainland. Weather reports. Supply updates. Brief news. The conversation lasts perhaps 5 minutes. When it ends and silence returns, the silence is somehow deeper than it was before. On calm days he washes his clothes by hand and hangs them to dry in the sea wind. Even here, even in this, the ordinary rhythms of a human life continue. And every evening at sunset, the lighting of the lamp, the flame catches, the lens glows, the beam begins its turn. Another night of keeping begins. The first storm arrives without apology. He sees it coming from the gallery, a wall of darkness on the horizon moving with terrible purpose toward the lighthouse. He has prepared for this. He checks his preparations again anyway, because out here, there is no surviving a storm you were not ready for. Then the giant wave. He hears it before he sees it. A sound like the world tearing. Then water, impossible amounts of water, rising past the gallery level and crashing over the top of the rocks in a white explosion that shakes the tower to its foundations. He grips the railing. The tower holds. It always has. But this time, it felt different. Through the worst of the night storm, the beam never stops turning. Horizontal rain, waves breaking over the base, wind that sounds like screaming, and through all of it, the beam sweeps, because somewhere out in that chaos, there are ships, and ships have sailors, and sailors have families, and families are waiting. Inside the tower during a great storm, the stone itself seems to breathe. The walls vibrate, water finds every crack. The noise is beyond description. He braces himself against the curve of the wall and waits. This is what he signed up for. This is the job. In the middle of a storm, the clockwork mechanism breaks. The lens stops rotating. A fixed light is useless to sailors. They cannot judge distance from it. He tears it open by candlelight with the storm screaming outside. His hands are steady. They have to be. There is no one else. Until he can fix it, he turns the lens himself, walking in circles, around and around and around, hour after hour, through the night, his legs aching, his arms burning, his eyes barely open, but the beam keeps turning, because he keeps walking, because that is what a lighthouse keeper does. The hurricane comes in November. For 18 hours, the lighthouse is completely submerged in white water. Waves break over the top of the tower. Aerial observers later say the lighthouse simply disappeared, but the beam never stopped. And when the storm passed, he was still there. He emerges into the aftermath at dawn. Debris on every rock. Equipment scattered. Seaweed draped over everything like the ocean's calling card. But the tower stands. The lens is intact. The beam burned through the entire storm. He surveys the damage, makes his log entry, and begins cleaning up. Alone. January brings the ice. Frozen sea spray builds into extraordinary formations on every surface. The rocks become sculptures. The lower tower becomes encased in crystal. Beautiful and deadly simultaneously. He chips away at the ice daily to keep the door functional. Another task. Another hour. Another day. The fog is its own kind of enemy. It does not threaten his life as the storm does, but it erases the world entirely. In thick fog he cannot see 10 feet. The lighthouse disappears into white. Only the horn speaks, and in the silence between its blasts, the fog feels alive. Lightning finds the rod at the top of the tower and the world turns white for a single instant. The thunder that follows is not heard, it is felt. In the bones, in the chest, in the teeth, nature reminding him who is really in charge out here. Through his binoculars one morning, he sees something on the horizon that turns his blood cold. A rogue wave, larger than anything he has seen before, moving fast, moving toward him. He survives it. He always survives. But each storm takes something from him, and gives something back, something he cannot name. Books save him. Every evening after the light is lit and the log is written and the mechanism is checked, he reads. He brought enough books for a year. He will read them all twice, some 3 times. The interior life of the Lighthouse Keeper is rich beyond what his exterior life might suggest. He writes letters he cannot send, or letters that will wait months to be collected. To his wife, to his children, to his mother. He describes everything. The storms, the seabirds, the color of the ocean at sunset. As if by describing the world precisely enough he can share it with the people he loves. The letters pile up. The distance does not shrink, but the writing helps. One night through the lantern room glass he sees a sailing ship in distress, too close to the rocks, pushed by the storm toward certain destruction. His light is burning at full power. They must be able to see it. Why are they not turning? He watches helplessly. There is nothing more he can do but keep the light burning and pray. He fires the rescue rocket into the darkness. The red trail arcs through the storm toward the struggling vessel. A signal that says, "Rocks here, danger here, turn here, I see you." One man, one rocket, in the darkness, against the storm, doing the only thing he can. They are the first human beings he has touched since January. He holds each one longer than strictly necessary. He gives them everything he has. Blankets, food, the warmth of the stove. His small quarters, designed for solitary life, are suddenly crowded with human presence. After 7 months of silence, the lighthouse is full of voices. He sits in the corner and listens to them talk. He could listen to them talk all night, but not every night ends in rescue. One dawn he emerges to find a wreck on the rocks. His light had been burning all night. He had done everything right, and still the sea had taken a ship. He stands among the debris and understands for the first time the true weight of the responsibility he carries, and always will carry. On the winter solstice he lights a small candle for the occasion. The shortest day, the longest dark. He tends the beam through 20 hours of darkness. In the morning he records it in the logbook with particular care. The year is turning. He is still here. Both facts feel significant. Christmas comes. He makes a small decoration for the lantern room from wire and colored glass. He cooks the best meal his supplies allow. He reads the letters from home that arrived with the last supply boat. He raises a glass to the photograph on the table. He says their names out loud, one by one, to hear them in this space. Then he tends the light, because tonight of all nights, sailors need it most. New Year arrives without fanfare. The ocean is indifferent to calendars. He stands at the gallery at midnight and raises his mug to the dark horizon, to the year just past. On the last day of December, he draws the final mark on the calendar. 365 marks. He sees the supply boat on the morning of January the 1st. He watches it through his binoculars for a long time. It is real. It is coming. He writes the last entry in the logbook. His handwriting is the same as it was on January the 1st. His hand is steady. He closes the book. He does not open it again. He stands in the bow of the supply boat as it pulls away, and he watches the lighthouse. He thinks about everything that happened inside those walls. The storms he survived, the ships he guided, the days he struggled, the peace he found, the person he became in the silence and the darkness and the wind. He thinks about the next keeper who will climb those stairs tomorrow, who will light the lamp tomorrow evening, who will begin their own year of days in that tower. He spent 365 days completely alone. He will never be the same again, and he would not have it any other way.